Hey yo, it's your boy Monster Man Rocco.
It's your boy Swagger Rock.
This is Snack the Ripper.
Hey, you rap for those who don't know.
Master Ace. You are now rocking with the best. Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records, man.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records.
Breaking Records.
Breaking Records Radio. Let's go.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records, man. Radio is like the place to be. I don't fuck strange music, man.
Breaking Records Radio and the place to be. You know what it is. It's your host Maloney, and I have a very special guest with me on the phone right now. It's not all the time I get the opportunity to talk to somebody so legendary and so influential on this culture that we all love called hip hop. But right now I have Umar Bin Hassan of The Last Poets on the phone with me right now. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm here, still here, man. It's 71 and a few bruises and battles, but I'm still here. I am still here. And happy to be here, too. Still learning what it is to be a human being. That's all.
Hey, man. Of course, like, I just got to say, man, like, thank you so much for what you've contributed to not only just hip hop, unknowingly and almost unwillingly, but like just what you've contributed to music as a whole. Like The Last Poets, what you guys did was so different, and even to this day it still resonates. It's very much some things get lost in translation over the years. What you guys put out did not. It is something that stands the stamp of time, and it's still relatable today in 2019.
Yeah. Well, I know niggas in the revolution is still what's happening, and this is madness is still what's happening. So I'm quite happy to be around to see what's happening and what's coming after us or what's supposed to be happening after us. So I'm all right with myself. I'm not mad at nobody from hip hop. I'm not mad at how much money they make us just do, because it always has to come back to who we were. No matter how much money they make, it always has to come back to who we were, because we opened up the record industry for them. You know, because we were selling records like 2 and 3 million records at a time, and I guess a lot of people look at them and say, wow, we got some little hip stuff for this and some music for this, we could really make some money. And so then you got hip hop, you know.
Yeah, man, like it's phenomenal. Like and one thing I think too, you guys don't get the credit you deserve in how instrumental you guys were in what hip-hop became, because a lot of times they go back, like, I don't know if you've seen the Evolution of Hip-Hop documentary they put out, but they give a lot of credit to disco, and people like Pigmeat Markham and different disc jockeys and stuff, who talked in rhyme. But you guys really set the precedent for not only revolutionary and social awareness talking in rhyme, but even just the cadence and the way that you guys did it and the rawness of it, I think really was the precursor for a lot of the change you've seen in hip-hop after it went from disco to more street.
Yeah. But like, we're very happy to still be here, man, at this time, and to see some of the young artists who are coming up, some who we like and some who we don't. So we appreciate what some of them have tried to do to express their generation in terms of who they are and where they're going. So, like I said, we're not mad at any of them. Right? That would be stupid for us to be mad at our children, just for trying to be something different or do something different, because they really are our children. And we look at them. Some of them even call us daddy playfully around, the ones who we really deal with and no one care about. So we're happy that it's all part of our contribution to our culture and to the American culture. We're okay with that.
That's amazing, man. And so like you got the Scared of Revolution documentary. Has it come out publicly yet, or is it still under wraps?
We're still going through minor creators here and there, so I don't know. They're still telling me there's going to be some other stuff they're going to be doing in a minute, in a while. So all I got to do is just be patient. I just have to be patient. Have you seen it?
Yep, I had an opportunity to watch it. It got Michael forwarded it to me, and I actually just finished watching it about 20 minutes ago. It's amazing. Sorry?
What do you think of it?
I thought it was amazing. Very informative. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Last Poets, though, I'm very familiar with you guys as a unit. I was never that familiar with you guys individually. So to see your whole story, everything from, pawning off your sister's record player to get your bus ticket to go to Harlem, all of that up until, the music you guys put out, selling 1 million records, all the way forward to ending up becoming a part of the 80s crack era and, going through that at the lowest level possible to, the comeback and, being a great grandfather you are now and stuff. Like, full circle is just a great story, man. And I think I think it's important a lot of people see it. And I think, I really enjoyed it. And I think it was very well done.
I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you, and thank you for that. I really appreciate you. But like I said, it's the whole thing was the way I even came about to becoming a part of the group. It was at N.W.A. College back in 68, and I was head of security because everybody said, well, put Umar, put him head of security. He's a crazy nigga. He'll shoot people. He'll protect us. So Abiel Doom came up to his desk and said, I'm because back then he had a real deeper voice. And he said, I'm Abiel Doom. I'm one of the last boys. I said, well, brother, I don't care who you are. Well, we're from New York. I don't care who you are. You got to check in. You got to check in. You got to get some more. No, man. I'm telling you, I'm on the show. I'm on. So listen, at that time, I had a 45 or 38 under my tunic on my revolutionary jacket. I just pulled that up, and he said, "Okay, I'll check in, man." So he checked in. But then when I saw what him and Felipe and Dylan King were doing from the stage and David Nelson, it just messed me up. So that's it. I got to be a last poet. Because I was doing a little writing, a little poetry that I had done in my school. I know I wrote my senior classes. I wrote a poem for my whole senior class, and I wrote about my two principals in my school, the assistant principal and the head principal, whom I didn't like at all. So I wrote a poem so everybody could see what it looked like, Hank is going that way. He was doing a lot of poetry. So I just said, well, let me see if I can go up to it. And at that time, in Akron, Ohio, we were fighting against the police for, constantly and for ever since they wanted to just harass us like they did our grandfathers and fathers. And, a lot of us said, no, we're not going for it. So we had a little riot at that time in that town. And I was supposed to be, everybody was saying, well, it was Hank Hewlett. That was my nickname, Hank Hewlett. He was running, he was telling us, so the Akron Police Department sent a letter of recruitment to my house, and my mother, thank God for black women, she realized, well, okay, it's time for you to get out of here. You get down there on the police academy field and shooting something, down to somebody make a mistake, and she said, it's time for you to get out of here. So I got fired from my job from Firestone Tire and Rubber. I had a good job because Akron, Ohio, the birth of rubber and the Rubber City and all that. So I got fired from my job, and I didn't have no money. I spent my last paycheck on some other stuff. So I took upon my sister's record player, the 33 and the third records that were dropped after you play one, and I got $25 for them. And the ticket to New York was it was $15. So when I got in Pittsburgh, I just had $10 left, but I used $9.78 to give me some food. So when I landed at 8th Avenue and 42nd Street in the fall of 1969, I just had 22 cents in my pocket.
Holy shit.
But somehow, Now check this out. Now here comes this Jamaican up on me, and he wants me to hand the hammers. He didn't know that I knew the game anyway about, the handkerchief game where they got some money in the handkerchief and they'll tell you to hold it till they come back. But this fool, gave me the handkerchief and he went away for about, he started halfway down the block. Now I'm an ex-football player and track star, so I take off with the handkerchief and I go and I know where I was going because I just got off the bus, but at 43rd Street and 9th Avenue, there was a school, and they had a little place where I could hide behind it. He comes with the police, y'all man, he's going this way, man, he got my money, man, he got my money. Stupid motherfucker. And so I opened up the handkerchief, and there was $25 in there. So I said, okay, it's all deep how I just landed there with no money, because I got some money of some of the games I used to run. And I got on the subway, found how to get up to Harlem, where the East Wind was. That was the last port. So That was Allah.
Yeah.
And I got there, and dude was there, and he said, "Whoa, man, you made it?" I said, "Yeah, I came, and I'm here, you know." And so he hooked me up in this dorm, this city university dorm for black people who couldn't afford to stay on campus. It was the Alamac Hotel. And so I got hooked up in there, and one of the sisters I lived a long time ago hooked me up. And I was hanging out there, you know, and people knew who I was. And I hooked up with this one sister in there, and I stayed with her in her little apartment. Her name was Cookie. And so I knew I wanted to come and be a last poet, but I didn't know how soon it was gonna happen. But next week, June, because Golly Kane had left and David Nelson had left and Felipe had left, which is
so they had left the original lineup.
Yeah, the
okay.
original players. So dude gets me hooked up in the Alamac Hotel, and so that next week, like I said, I know I come to be the last poet. I know it's gonna happen for that. So he said, "Listen," he told the students, he said, "Listen, there's a brother here from Ohio, and he wants to be the last poet." So he said, "I'm going to let y'all decide whether he becomes the last poet." Now, all of them, they all knew each other from Harlem and Brooklyn. That's how they all became last poets, because they all knew each other. But yeah, I come from the Midwest, and I don't know about it, you know. So, the people said, okay. And I had about 2 or 3 poems, and I wasn't really writing yet. I hadn't really got into it, but I had this one poem called MF. You know what MF stands for, right?
Like, as in multiple sclerosis?
So I would say, you know, Malcolm was a so-and-so on the left, and Huey was a so-and-so on the left, and so-and-so was a so-and-so on the left. And so they said, people said, yeah, he's a little rough. Go ahead, make him a last poet. So I was doing, said, okay, Ma, you're a last poet, but you ain't never doing that poem again. And I haven't done it in 50 years now. I've never done that poem again. But then that's how I became one of the last poets. So at that time, it was just me, Abby O'Doon, and Elijah, the original tuba player. Like I said, Jalal had left, and David Nelson left, and Felipe Luciano had left, and Guylin. No, Jalal had left, but Guylin came, Felipe Luciano, and David Nelson. So it was me, Jalal, and Elijah. And so when that album came out, boy, that just called the still everything. The album just upset the whole record industry for a minute, you know, because here these boys are just selling all these records, and just by word of mouth, 2 million, 3 million here and there. And it was happening, man. And we were next thing we know, we were going all across the country doing gigs at certain colleges and stuff.
Yeah, man. And because the first album is the album that has Scared of Revolution on it, is it not?
Yeah.
So, like, you guys came out the jump with that, which has gone on to be, you know, one of the most sampled records in hip-hop history, very influential. One thing I was kind of curious about is, you know, with you guys just, like, with yourself, just openly using the N-word so much on that song, do you think that became a precursor to how it became used in hip-hop so oftenly?
I'm quite sure it has. But I always say this, no matter how much nigga poems or whoever had the best nigga poem, it still never touched nigga the Scared of Revolution. And it hasn't yet. It hasn't surpassed it. I haven't heard a nigga poem from hip-hop that could touch that poem, you know?
Yeah.
Because you see, the only thing that was happening was that poem. The reason it was so exciting and graduate, I think because a real nigga had wrote it.
Yeah.
Including myself, because I was still a nigga, you know, a little street nigga at 19 and 20. I wasn't into my black thing at all at once, so that's why that poem was so appealing, because like a real nigga wrote it, you know.
Yeah.
I was a nigga at the time, so that's why I got off, and that's why I still, you know, section, you know, makes people think and, you know, make them laugh and, you know, clap their hands and stuff.
Yeah, and one thing I'm curious too, like after all these years with you know, such an influential record like that, is like in the documentary it said, like, you know, it had some of your counterparts and stuff talking. It was saying, like, you know, that had to come from a real spot so that you in turn would have been scared of revolution. But I want to look back in hindsight all these years later. Do you think a revolutionary mind state is still purposeful? Like, do you think it's still necessary? Like, kind of like the work you guys did was continued on by, like, you know, early Tupac, who was, you know, a direct influence of Black Panthers, and then, you know, Chuck D, Public Enemy. They really kept that ideology alive, and I think, white America, especially, the system has always been very scared of black empowerment. Do you think in today's world, for one, do you think there's still that black people are still scared of revolution? But two, do you think revolution is still necessary?
Well, it's necessary now because personally, if you can have your own revolution of your own troubles and your problems and your indiscretions as a human being, yeah, but to try to put that on, I mean, these young kids, it's all about money now, so it's about cash money.
Yeah.
That's all they think about, it's about money. So I don't think it would work too well in this society or this arena or at this time, because the young people are just about thinking making money and pimping hoes and all kind of other stuff. But if you are talking about revolution, first of all, you do, but I've come to learn you have to start with yourself. You have to clean up some of your own faults and, indiscretions of who you are as a human being to try to make it a better world as it possibly can, because everybody's offering so much different things now. Everybody is, I'm talking about the young white kids, the young black kids, and the Spanish kids. I don't think it would take hold as much as it would back then, because that time we were already, matter of fact, I was just talking to an ex-friend who I'm spending time now with. We just talked about, we were there. We were ready for it then, We were ready to do it. And then now there's too much other little side shows and side streets and, little places where people can go and hide and do what they want to do.
And I'm curious.
But far as, well, we can see what's going on with our political system with Donald Trump, so we know there's a lot of corruption and racism that's going on in the country. But it's individually now. People got to really realize, what do we really want? Do we want to have a country like Donald Trump wants us to have, or do we really want a better country for our children and our grandchildren?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And another, I'm kind of curious as well, too. Do you think, because everything was so politically charged back then, right? And with the internet now, we can see that, young black people are still being targeted by the police on a daily basis. Hundreds of cell phones, videos of it every day. So I would argue, in a sense, to some people, though the youth is not as politically charged nowadays, it's almost more important now than, I don't want to say ever, but it's almost as important now as it was then when it's so in your face. But do you think that, I'm curious, for someone who the poems you wrote went on to inspire some of the greatest hip-hop ever, some of the most politically charged music ever. And for someone who was in the game, back then, who created something revolutionary, and what you guys did, it was unlike any other music that had ever been heard, to hip-hop going with the same format, being this new thing, taking political awareness by the horns. Do you think that there was an effort by, whether it be the record industry, whether it be, central banking systems, whatever institutionalized white power form, do you think that there was a purposeful attack on destroying politically charged black music?
Oh, come on. You know, Kelly, that's a fact. I know that's a fact, man. I know that's a fact, because just like you said, back in the 60s, in the late 60s, we were charged, highly powered charged. Now, we were getting interviews and records, and doing interviews and TV shows all over the place. But, I still got the powers be saw us that we can't give these too much leeway, because there's some powerful guys. But see, the thing that happened for us is that we forgot that the last poets needed to be revolutionized. We forgot that we needed to clean ourselves up and be decent among real people, because, we were just some young kids at the time. We just throwing stuff out there. We didn't realize what a revolution is really about, or what it was supposed to really be about, or how to sustain a revolution. So, we took some changes ourselves, just like everybody else. So
yeah,
we had our moment in time. I say still now, we still have little flashes in there. We had a moment in time. We did what we were supposed to do, but it's a different world much now. Like you said, you're talking about the internet, how the internet comes on, and they got Facebook and everything. Google is doing what they want to do. So it's so many different avenues that these young people can travel now and try to express themselves and share with other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. The reason I asked as well, too, is just from someone who's been through it all. Me and one of my friends who I do a podcast with, we have an ongoing debate where I personally feel like the music industry destroyed Public Enemy, and he thinks it was a time. He thinks it was a generational thing. I personally feel that they were disassembled by the industry because they were too powerful. So that's kind of,
I mean, I would agree with you on that, man. I agree with you, but they started, putting us into certain situations where we started messing up and doing things that we shouldn't have been doing,
Yeah.
Fucked up a lot of things. So I'm not blaming everybody else. See, first of all, when you start blaming other people and not looking at yourself, it becomes phony. But to keep it real, I have to tell you that there's some things that we did amongst ourselves to, help us become less, glamorized or less familiarized with things. So, sometimes you are your worst enemy.
That's very true as well, too. That's very well put, actually. Very well put. I do want to continue to talk a little bit more, though, about the documentary. From what was it like moving from, and I don't want to expose everything you say in the documentary as well, too. So, we got to cross this fine line of talking about things that are in there, but not giving everything away. Like, one thing that struck me was when you said you went to Harlem and you went up to the rooftop and you were looking down, you're like, hey, is that Broadview? And you said the homie you were with at the time was like, nah, you were on, 42nd Street? And it's like, you better know where you at.
Yeah.
And it's like, sorry, continue?
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, like, what was, like, because you came from Ohio, right?
Yeah, I came out from Ohio, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, what was like, one of the main what was one of the first things you had to learn to ensure your survival going from Ohio to right in the center of Harlem?
How to get on and off the subway quickly.
Yeah.
How to get on and off the subway quickly and safe, because I mean, in subway doing West Side and West Side, you talking about that's where the revolution started. But also too, man, how to, because when I got to Harlem, man, I got there after I got the money from the Jamaican, I got up to Harlem, and it just messed me up. There's so many people in dashikis and people in silk suits and people talking one language and people talking another, and Black Power people on one corner, others, the Jews people on one corner. It's like, so you got to realize where you were at.
Yeah.
Before you could make a direction or what direction to move, because there were so many directions to go in Harlem, man, at that time. And so knowing that I had come to be a revolutionary, so I hooked up with a lot of revolutionary people, at that time. Because my first, Nikki Giovanni, she was the first one to ever, you've heard of Nikki Giovanni, right?
Yep.
She was the first person to ever let me read, and because she had a show, not a show, but she had a spot on 7th and Amsterdam Avenue. It's a poetry spot where people could come and do poetry. And see, plus of all, we were both from Ohio, so we were like, And then, as a matter of fact, one of the Kelly Isley brothers was there the day I read.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, man, Kelly Isley, because her and Nicky from Cincinnati, I'm from Ohio, so we Buckeyes. So, and I didn't know he was there, but after I read my first poem with my poetry, like I said, it wasn't really good poetry, but she gave me the first chance to do it. But Kelly came up and gave me $50 and told me, you're going to make it here, and you're going to make it here. So about 3 years later, when we were at the Apollo, and he came to see it, he said, I told you, boy, I told you he was going to make it, didn't you? So the thing was how to learn to navigate around New York, especially up in Harlem, because there were so many different ideas and so many different philosophies going on up there at the time. So it's like you have to make sure that you got into the right philosophy with the right people to help move you forward. And so me getting with the last points, it just opened up a lot of things. And because, like I said, Dune and Garland King and them and Philippe and them had already opened up that forum for me. So for me to make it even more open and more broader, I had to get in and understand the people with whom I was dealing with, man, which was easy because I lived in the street when I was a young boy. I grew up in the streets, so I learned how to talk to people and deal with people. So the thing was learning how to deal with people and all of them, and learning to get them to respect you for who you were and what you were about and what you were trying to do for them,
Yeah. And one thing I was curious about, too, with The Last Poets, I've noticed a trend, like, throughout your discography that different poets would appear on different albums. Like, you are present on a majority of them, but there's, like, a couple periods, I think it's, like, between 78 and, like, 82 or something, and then, like, 88 and 92 or something like that, where you weren't present on a couple albums, and same with other poets. Is there a reason for why you guys chose to do that, or was it just something, you know, certain people were dealing with certain things?
Well, when the group broke up, a lot of groups, me and Abdul Doon and Baba Tune, in the last 30 years have become the group that is known as the Last Poets as a group, you know. But we all know that there was Galen Kane and there was Felipe, and so everybody, and then Jalal and Suleiman did some things with albums. So we never, nobody ever tried to stop other Last Poets from using the name Last Poets or doing something in the name of Last Poets.
Okay.
You know, even though I have the trademark to the name, but no, I would never stop no other Last Poets from doing that, man, because, I mean, they're the ones who helped, made it possible for me able to get that name, you know.
Oh, that's amazing.
But everybody else who tried to use the name, and I know they were the Last Poets, yeah, I pull out the fact that, you know, I only copied the trademark to the name. But no, man, we you know, no matter how much we have maybe each other in different groups, we always respected others as the Last Poets, man. We never hated each other. We never hated each other.
Yeah.
We would talk and deal with each other and go to lunch with each other sometimes. And hopefully I'm somewhere in the soon, maybe all of us who are still here might be able to get together and do another full Last Poets album. Hopefully. I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about that more than June or Baba Tuli or probably Felipe or Galen King. But, you know, hopefully that might be able to be done.
That would be amazing. That'd be amazing, man. Even if you guys could put something together where, like, it was reminiscent of what you did, but you know, you had certain artists, like, you know, hip-hop artists who really followed, like, what you guys did, like your Chuck D's or Commons and stuff. And, like, I think you guys could really make something special for, you know, this era that would be something landmark and something special. Like, the same way you see, like, B.B. King years later do albums with, like, Eric Clapton and stuff and people he inspired. Like,
there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Same thing. That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
You know?
That would be amazing, man. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you about too. Like, one thing I caught in the documentary, and you guys didn't elaborate on it very long. So, with the articles and stuff, I think I picked up the gist of what happened, but I wanted to ask you directly about it. But with the hip hop influence and everything, you spoke very quickly about, like, Big and Party and Bullshit. But was there actually a lawsuit that followed that? Because you guys weren't happy with the way he used the terminology of it?
Well, Dune. Matter of fact, I'm the one who let Dune know that, because we was at this thing. Well, it was back. That's a couple of years ago. It was a hip hop party. And Dune hadn't known that Biggie had used the term Party and Bullshit. So I said, Dune, come in. So when they got to doing that, he said, what you want? I said, you got to listen to something. So we stepped on that balcony and listened to Biggie do his thing. He said, what? What they do? I said, you didn't know that, man? He said, no, I don't. I said, well, yeah, they've been using Party and Big Party and Bullshit and Party and Bullshit. So now doing this, I think maybe about 10 years or 5 years ago, he's instructed the lawyer to go for this, but he hasn't gotten that settled yet. So I don't know how that's going to come out. But we never, because my daughter went to school with Biggie.
Oh, really?
Was on the same block in Brooklyn, and she went to school with Biggie. I met Biggie. We talked on the street. You know, like I said, man, we never hold held no grudges against them young boys. Man, why would we do? They came from the same culture. Some of them from the same neighborhoods, and they had the same ideas of trying to use the rules like us. So we never really were, you know, hateful. Not unless, like I said, they use some of the bars and give it their next listen. That we had to straighten the go. We would try to straighten things out like that. But other than that, no, man. They were part of our culture. They were part of our hood, too.
Yeah. And, yeah, man, and, like, you know, it goes on, like, all the people have sampled you in hip-hop history, from Kanye to Prodigy, Dr. Dre, Tribe Called Quest. And one group I found a little ironic. Well, I don't know if it's ironic or if it fits perfectly, but N.W.A. sampled the shit out of you guys.
Yeah, I know. And they never gave us no money. Never came to ask us and tell them. But, you know, they know that. You know, they know that. But,
yeah.
Ice Cube has always made some, you know, indications that we had done that. So, like I say, it's cool, man. It's cool. Like, I'm just happy to be here because I've done some things out there in the streets and in my last 20 or so years that they hooked up on stuff because, I also took on drugs pretty bad, so to get through what I've been through, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be here and I'm working with Abigail doing an opportunity. Like, matter of fact, we got something to do in December coming up. So we have gigs. We go all over the world, man. I was just explaining to my friend here, and I've been to 28 countries, man. I never thought I would go to 28 countries. And in fact, true that we are in the Smithsonian. I never thought we'd make it to the Smithsonian. I really did not. I was never. But that's all. I'm happy with some of the things that we've done and what we've been allowed to do and people have asked us to come to do. So I'm okay with that, man.
Amazing, man. I love your approach on it and everything too, man. And it's truly just humbling to be able to talk to somebody like you, who's seen so much history, but is a part of it as well.
Yeah, but listen, man, I am so happy that we have fans like you, black and white. I'm happy about all the people who have shown us some respect and love, man, black and white. No, man, because we know we weren't just for a black thing. A whole lot of young white people listened to us when they were back in the day. The young ones didn't come out. We'll run into them at certain shows. They'd be 40 or 50, and they'll bring their album along. We know the contribution we made to American culture, man, whether it was financial or whatever. We're just happy to have been there at the right time to do it, man. So we ain't mad at nobody. We're not mad at nobody.
Word, man. And another thing I was curious, too, is when you guys did the corner with Common, how did that all come about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what Common had come to us and said he's getting ready to do, because, we knew Common. We know R. Kelly, too. You talk about Chicago. We know R. Kelly, too. That's crazy. We know R. Kelly. Yeah, all these guys would come and talk to us, man, and say, yeah, man, you guys, you're influenced me. We're so glad that y'all still here. So when he came and said he wanted to do something on the corner, I had wrote something, and Duane had wrote something, but he liked what I wrote. So we did what I wrote in that video. So we were glad to do that, man. We were really glad to. Had a wonderful time, doing it, too.
That's awesome, man. That's one thing I really respect about Common, and there's certain artists from that era,
Yeah,
sorry,
man,
continue.
some of them are some of the best young men that I've ever met, and good artists too. So, like I say, I'm glad some of them want us to work with us here or there. So I've always been open to that, man. Always been open to that.
Word, man, word. And so tell us a little bit about the Scared of Revolution documentary as well too. That
came about because we, Christine Iden, who was a Dutch girl, wrote a book about us, The Last Post. If you haven't heard about that, she wrote a book called The Last Post. Now her son, Daniel, he's in a movie. He's a movie maker. So, I spend a lot of time with their family when I would go over to Holland and spend time with the family. So at a time when he was about 14 and we had just done some bit and I'm just getting ready to leave and come back to America, he said, well, Mom, I'm going to make a movie about you. So I said, yeah, all right, young man, you're going to make a movie. So I went back, I did that. He gave me pictures, I'm on my way out. But I forgot that he was Scorpio, just like me. And see, when Scorpio tells you something, we're going to do it, we're going to get it done. So when he showed up about 6 years later with the other boys, Stein and Thomas and Baltimore, with all his equipment, I said, damn, this boy's serious. So we went throughout Baltimore about 2 or 3 days making that movie, man. And we worked hard at it, too. Daniel and Stein and myself, and we became brothers. Because I was messing with them guys sometimes to see if they were rich. I'd be messing with them on the road. But I did most of the driving because it was in the Midwest, so I knew where the places go. Matter of fact, the year before we started driving, Daniel, the creator, the movie producer, came over with him and my grandson. We traveled about 3,300 miles throughout the Midwest trying to find spots to do the documentary. So it came out well, man. We came out well. We worked hard. They worked hard, and I got off of them. I stopped messing with them to see if they were serious, and we finally got it knuckled down, man. To that last scene where I break down and cry,
Yeah.
in the film by the water, where I had took my father asked us a long time back to go because I didn't want him to be put nowhere in Akron, Ohio, because for all the 44 years he was there, he was just tormented, and it just didn't work for him. So I took his ashes up to Lake Erie and put them in the water, and it was amazing because that wave just came right up on him, and just took them ashes right out to sea.
Just
hello.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just listening, my man. No, yeah, that's I really liked how you guys put it all together, and the symbolism that you guys used in all that. Like, I think it's a very touching documentary. Is what I watched, is that like the final, or are you guys, because you said that there's still some things going on behind the scenes, so
yeah, that's the final, but we
Okay.
don't know what the promoters and the exporters ever want to do. I'm not, just like I talked to Michael, they said, this is happening, and hold on, we're going to do this and more things coming. So when they call and tell me to talk, I talk, and we'll see what's happening, man. I mean, you like it, but then there's a whole lot of people who didn't like it. So I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not mad at nobody. I'm glad it got out there, to expose the fact that at 8 years old, I was a young boy shining shoes late at night in the street to help feed a family and stuff. And so people can understand, why my attitude or my persona, my is like it is, because I had to start out in the streets young, learning stuff from other street people to survive. So I'm okay, man.
yeah. Well, that's the one thing I really liked about it, is how that it was it's very real. You know what I mean? A lot of times when people want to make documentaries about their career, especially someone who's been in it since since the 70s, like you have such longevity, all the different things you've gone on to influence and stuff. People a lot of times when they make documentaries, they try to shine them up. You know what I mean? Like everything about your documentary was very authentic.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. It was very authentic, like the family members you're visiting, like you're visiting them at their cribs and stuff like that. Like, people weren't coming into studios to do interviews. Like everything was very authentic, and it gave you a feel. Like you revisiting the rooftop 40 years later. All these things, like I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of the realism and learning the music and learning the artists themselves. I could care less about all the glamour, glitz, and falsified bullshit. You know what I mean? So I was a huge fan of it.
Listen, I respect you that because I don't like it either. I don't like it either, Kelly. All the phony fake shit. I can't deal with that. I mean, you may not like some of the things I say when I say them or things I do, but you're going to know I'm real, that I ain't bullshitting you, I ain't playing with you, because that's the only way you hold other people's attention.
Yep.
Let them know that you're real and you're serious and you ain't hung up or, all around who you are, what you're about. That you can be just as human and just as real and just as susceptible and, as they are, because I've always been that way. I've never tried to pretend I'm better than somebody else, or that's not me. I mean, people have asked me, Umar, was that you going in that country? I said, I tell them, yeah, that was a B.I.G. You want to go next time with me or what? But I ain't never tried to hide nothing from anybody, man. I ain't never tried to hide nothing from anybody, because my character, who I am, won't let me do that. Let me do that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think it's great. And so you don't have an idea exactly when it will be out yet, but for the people listening, Scared of Revolution, the documentary of Umar Bin Hassan, of The Last Poets, it is on the way. I've seen the final version. I think it's phenomenal for anyone who listens to the show, who's like me, who likes the type of things I like. I know you guys will enjoy it, and I will keep everybody who listens to the show posted for once it does come out and everything as well too. But before
Dad, it's coming out on DVD, so I'm going to get some more messages about that. So if you can call me back maybe in a couple of days, I can tell you that it's out on DVDs now.
Okay.
On DVDs.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. So you call me back in a couple of days, Cuz, and I can give you an idea of where you can go find them, at what stores. Okay, man?
Okay, perfect, man.
But listen, man, I appreciate you taking this time with me. I really do. I like your whole attitude, how you approach it, and you made me feel real comfortable with it to be able to share myself with you. And I appreciate that, man. I really respect that, okay?
Hey, man, and I appreciate you very much, man, for everything you've done for the culture, your impact, and, once again, just even sitting with me and having the conversation. I appreciate it very much. I respect my OGs and all that and my legends, but, people who molded and shaped this culture, I don't think get the recognition and the props they deserve. And my hat's off to you, man, and everyone else who played integral roles in bringing this to what it is now, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here, man.
All right, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate you, baby boy. I appreciate you, too.
I appreciate
You know what I
you.
mean?
I appreciate you very much, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And yeah, definitely keep me posted when the DVD information. And
Okay, I will. I'll do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, man.
All
Thank
right.
you for your time.
Have a good day, too. You too, man. You have a great day.
You as well.
Okay? All right, peace.